About a year ago, I worked in an ESL program teaching English to Hispanic students. When working with one of the specific students, I would look at her and talk to her. I noticed she'd look up at me, acknowledge that I was there, and look back down. As I was trying to teach her, I wanted to keep her eye contact so I knew she was paying attention. So I'd do something to get her attention again and make her look up. Then I noticed she'd look quickly back down. I noticed this was a problem with many of the students. I figured it was because I was a little intimidating, they were a little embarrassed because they didn't know the language very well and they were a little shy. After time, I noticed that they even communicated with each other like that. They would be one would be talking, looking at him, and then both of them would not quickly, but they'd turn away and look back down. They just wouldn't keep eye contact very long. Something that's a thing within their culture. Today I'm going to talk to you and help you understand more about the influences of nonverbal communication, such as gender, a little bit of the types of nonverbal communication within a couple cultures, and how this has changed with time. There is no simple guide to follow for each culture's nonverbal communication. Wish there was. Something I'd recommend if you were going to visit someone from another culture, whether it's for business or whatever it's for, is to research the nonverbal communications within that culture. For example, if I do this, many of you here are going to be like, that means okay, or things are a-okay. But if I were to go to Europe and do that, many of the cultures there, especially within countries like Belgium, would think that I'm meaning you're zero, you're nothing. If you go to Turkey and Greece, that is actually a sexual gesture. Not sure what it means, but yeah, so it would be offensive. Nonverbal communication gestures are not universal. Another example, in Peru, it is impolite to point. So if you were to point at somebody and say, this is who this person is, they might be offended by it. Rather, you're supposed to nod and point with your lips. So you'd say, this is Derek Jeter, or whoever it might be. Now that I've told you a little bit about nonverbal communication in other cultures, let's talk about how gender helps influence nonverbal communication. Men and women typically have their differences in the way that each communicate, especially with nonverbal. Some obvious differences are the physical appearance and their volume of voice. Many stereotypes occur within communication of men and women, even inside nonverbal communication between men and women. For example, in Disney's Mulan, you'll notice a couple different things. I'm about to show you a clip from this movie.
I don't need anyone causing trouble in my camp.
Sorry.
Sorry you had to see that, but you know how it is when you get those manly urges, and you just gotta kill something. Fix things, cook outdoors.
What's your name?
Your commanding officer just asked you a question.
So you will notice that when she was trying to be a little more manly and talk like a man, she puffed up her chest, slammed on it, even kind of slugged the guy, just trying to act more like a man. But then, when she went back to her comfort of a woman, when asked a question, she was like, got a higher voice and a little more calm. And that also may have been because she was a little taken off guard. But I've talked to you a little bit about the effects of gender on nonverbal communication. Let's talk about the effects that gender has on a culture of nonverbal communication. Gender has a huge effect on the culture, which has a huge effect on communication. Up until roughly the last 100 years, women weren't allowed to have many rights. They were supposed to be women, ladylike. They were supposed to be calm and collected when they were in public. And even in many cultures today, that's typically what's accepted. But it's not always the case. A lot has changed with time. Women now can be, at least in America, women can be a little more of how they want to be. They can act more how they want to act. They're not expected just to be calm and collected and have the quiet voice. As we see in Hollywood, they can do a range of many different things. A lot has changed, and a lot is going to continue to change with types of communication between gender, between cultures, whatever it is. As long as time goes on, things will continue to change. One example is when I do this, you can assume that I either am talking on a phone or I'm going to make a phone call. Maybe 150 years ago, nobody would understand that. They wouldn't even get what that means. That's just an example to show that things are going to continue to change with time. In conclusion, I have talked to you about gender and culture, how gender and culture are affected by nonverbal communication, in hopes to give you a little knowledge and to help you understand just how important nonverbal communication is, and how having this knowledge can help you understand a culture a little bit more, as well as maybe even keep you out of trouble. Thank you.